MAGA infighting, it's a thing. It's been a thing. I think the moment that it became a real thing was the Epstein files not being released on purpose. The lying, the deceiving. Most MAGAs realize that they were deceived. That was the moment. That was the moment of truth when Pam Bondi said with a straight face, there actually are no files. And she followed that up with that Jeffrey Epstein actually killed himself. And then Trump followed that up with, don't believe the hype because the Democratic Party is out to get you and trick you. And that's why they've been pushing Epstein Gate. As my brother actually suggested, Epstein Gate is something that what we know was never pushed by the Democrats. In fact, the Democrats worked to smear anybody asking questions about Epstein and child sex trafficking and the corruption of Washington, D.C., and the corruption of Hollywood and the corruption of any of world leaders and celebrities all over the world. The Democratic Party worked to silence that story and called it a QAnon story. So Trump looking us in the face, straight-faced, telling us that it was a Democrat hoax. A lot of MAGAs are pissed off. And they're pissed off that it seems that Israel is controlling every move of our current administration. Not only that, it's been controlling every move of every administration ever before that. The whole time. The jig is up. So why are there some MAGAs not understanding that and some that are? Well, we're watching the infighting happen, and none other than this is one of the most prominent peoples that we've seen at each other's throats. It's kind of a one-sided because I don't think Tucker Carlson has been wasting too much time at all fighting back, but he has been a target for Zionist infiltrators, as Laura Loomer has made herself to be. It's pretty clear at this point. Laura Loomer, well, we'll let you guys judge for yourself. So let's just see and this is actually being reported on several news outlets. Here we go. Laura Loomer reignites fight with quote unquote terrible person Tucker Carlson in string of social media posts. So she just went nuts on her social media. It was pretty crazy. She went all in, not just at Tucker, but she went in at anybody challenging Israel. But Tucker was in her line of fire. Trump loyalist accuses former Fox News anchor of suppressing Hunter Biden's. Suppressing Hunter Biden's story. That's the big problem. Tucker suppressed the Hunter Biden story in 2020. Therefore, don't listen to what he has to say about Israel. That's the play. That's the play. So in the latest exchange of fire after falling out in June over nuclear strikes on Iran. So they had previously had a back and forth, and I think Tucker was more engaged in that back and forth back in June because Tucker actually sat down with the Iranian president and had a discussion about it and actually talked. So there's a lot of actual reporting and actual journalism going on by Tucker, but Laura Loomer wasn't having it. So here she goes again at trying to run him under the bus because he has been one of the most vocal MAGAs against not just the Epstein files not coming out, but our Israel policy in general and funding an actual genocide and an ethnic cleansing. It's not a war. It's an ethnic cleansing, as Tucker says. So here's the breakdown from the Independent. Far-right activist Laura Loomer has, yes, this is the headline. This is a string of posts on X. She's been a vocal ally of President Trump. And by the way, so was Tucker at one point. Called on the former Fox News host to a terrible person and a fraud. We're posting an article from the Independent that quotes Carlson calling her a child wielding a loaded firearm called Twitter. That's pretty funny, actually. Loomer's response, I am so glad so many people are starting to see what a terrible person Tucker is. I'm glad people's eyes are opening to what a fraud this guy's. Okay, where is it? Where's the fraud? Well, tell us. Well, she followed up by asking, and this is where we know things are insincere, because anybody who wastes time with a post like this means they're baiting you and they're not coming out and being honest. Do you want to know something about Tucker Carlson that nobody knows about? Oh my God. I feel like I'm in recess in middle school. This is like 7th grade recess between English and math. Oh my God. Did you know? Oh, only like me. Okay, only like me and like 3 other people in school know. This is gonna be like the final nail in the coffin that makes everyone realize what a fraud he is. Oh my God, I'll tell you later. I can't tell you now. I gotta get to math class. But oh my God, only me and like 3 other. But you have to pinky swear. You're not gonna say anything. Wow, here it is. The big reveal. Tucker Carlson deliberately chose to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020 to preserve his friendship and investment relationships with Hunter Biden and the Biden family. A betrayal of public trust during the 2020 election and how Tucker helped Biden get away with stealing the 2020 election. Well, this ending of that is true. The part about Biden getting away with the election because he had help suppressing this story, certainly that part's true. Did Tucker have anything to do with that? I don't know. I don't think so. But let's see. This is her big now everybody knows that Tucker is not to be trusted. Okay. All right, here's her story. Here's Laura Loomer's story. In the weeks leading up to 2020, the election, bombshell was poised to reshape the political landscape. And you guys remember, this is true. The Hunter Biden laptop scandal. There was evidence of corruption, foreign influence, activities tied to the Biden family. It was not a rumor or speculation. It was fully authenticated device backed by metadata chain. So all that's true. Yet, in a critical juncture, one of America's most influential conservative voices, Tucker made a choice that would reverberate through history by suppressing this explosive material. Carlson not only shielded the Biden family from scrutiny, but arguably helped tilt the scales of the 2020 election. Really? Because you could fill that blank in where it says Carlson, and you could put in the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, particularly Rachel Maddow. The list goes on. I don't know. How are you getting Tucker Carlson in this list? Or I guess in her case, this sole line that she's blaming it on Carlson. Well, she's not technically saying it wasn't anybody else. She probably does agree all those other things happened. Well, we know they happened. We know the Washington Post, they bragged about suppressing it. That was actually something that we saw in these quote unquote liberal outlets. They bragged about suppressing information in order to help the election go towards Biden. They thought it was a medal of honor, a badge of honor. So we already know all this, but why Tucker? What did he do? Well, the end of her tweet is this expose delves into the details of Carlson's actions, his personal and financial ties to Biden's, and the motivations behind his decision to bury the story could have altered the course of American political history and had disastrous consequences for our country. And as you guys can see right before that, and she's going to go into a whole tirade of Carlson, we're not going to get into it because there's already been a context added from readers. Tucker went live on Fox talking about the laptop on October 14th, 2020. That's about 3 weeks before the election. Did he have the information before October 14th? Most likely so. As you guys know, it takes time to get stories right. So if she's claiming it was before October 14th, that he was hesitant and he had some ties to the family, well, good for him for overcoming those obstacles and giving us an actual report before the election. So all you're doing, Laura Loomer, is you're drawing our attention back to a video that we probably wouldn't have had time to look at, but now we will because readers added context on X. Here's a clip from his report that aired on October 14th, 2020, 3 weeks before the election on Fox News. Take it away, Tucker.
Never imagined it could happen in this country, and yet today it did happen. A major American newspaper published a story, apparently an entirely accurate story, about a presidential candidate. The tech monopolies that control American media feared this story might hurt that candidate, whom they favor. So 3 weeks before a national election, they shut the whole thing down. They prevented the public from reading the news. They didn't apologize for doing this. They didn't bother to make up reasonable-sounding justifications for it. They just did it, exactly as the Chinese government does. These are monopolies. They have all the power You have none. They don't have to care what you think, and they don't. This was mass censorship on a scale that America has never experienced, not in 245 years. And it's a threat to all of us. Democracies only function when there is a free exchange of information between citizens. We no longer have that. This is a dark moment. Here are the details. This morning, the New York Post published a series of emails that describe Hunter Biden's lucrative relationship with a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma, and then describe how his father, then the Vice President of the United States, intervened to help his son peddle influence.
Well, there you go. And it goes on from there. He did quite an expose on it. So for Laura Loomer to come back and tell us that her expose about why Tucker was compromised and didn't report accurately is quite an interesting choice for her to do that. And we don't think that she made that choice on her own. We certainly think that she has some ties, Israel ties. She's been definitely accused of being an Israeli spy. When she's accused of that to her face, she always responds with, "I'm a U.S. citizen." Well, guess what? So is Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They were U.S. citizens and Mossad agents. We know that for a fact. So don't mix up. So when you hear her respond that way and say, "Oh, I can't be an Israeli agent. I'm a U.S. citizen," that's not how it works. You're not just an agent because of your citizenship. You're an agent because you're an agent. You're a paid operative. So her responding that way kind of shows her guilt. It kind of shows her guilt. But just to follow this up, it's very clear. And like, it's nice to see that Tucker is not wasting his time as he used to maybe earlier in the summer. He was wasting his time engaging with Laura Loomer. I think at this point, it's clear that it's just not worth his time. He's got way too much else going on right now. Really important interviews lined up. And again, we're not hero worshiping. We told you that from the start of the show. We're going to call out Tucker if he misses something, if he gets something wrong, if he doesn't apologize for something, if he gets too soft on something, if he's maneuvering something. We will call him out. Absolutely. But when he gets something right like this, Tucker says, stop calling it a war. It's a genocide. It's an invasion. It's ethnic cleansing. Maybe that is the problem Laura Loomer has with Tucker. Maybe that. But Laura Loomer doesn't stop at Tucker. She goes further. She tweeted this out, and I think this was after the FEMA story broke. But we know that the Stop Hate Act has been being pushed in legislation right now. So Laura Loomer has to pretend that the problem is the Palestinian protesters. And she's going to double down and attack as many people as she can. This is one of her tweets. There's a bunch of them. I mean, she is just, Tucker was right when he said she's just like this child on a playground, just using Twitter as a place to just launch whatever she wants. And here it is. One example. The fake news is now planting fake stories about the Trump administration policy on Israel because they're trying to antagonize people to carry out acts of violence against Jewish people in the U.S. No, they're not. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Don't fall for it. Okay. I thought we were going to go do violence against Jewish people. Well, thank you, Laura. Donald Trump is America first. No, he's not. He's Israel first. And always has been. Okay. The people screaming Trump is Israel first are the same people who want to see Jews gunned down in the streets of America. No, they don't. You're just saying words. Those words are insane. They're not real. Nobody wants to see Jews gunned down in the streets of America. Nobody wants to see that, except maybe psychopath Zionists. So then they have more reason to push hate speech legislation and more laws elevating the ADL, elevating AIPAC, elevating our military policy in the Middle East, elevating our ability to justify annihilating all the bordering countries and ultimately pushing the completion of the Greater Israel Project. The only people I suspect would be okay with Jews getting gunned down in the streets of America are the people that want to see the Greater Israel Project vision come through. That's it. Nobody else actually wants to see that. So that's an effing lie. That's an effing lie. Stop believing every single lie you see online that blames Jews for everything. That's not. No. Standing up against Islamic terrorism is America's first national security. What is Islamic terrorism? What are you talking about? What Islamic terrorism are you standing up against for our national security? What do you mean? Nothing aside from a full-blown commitment by the Trump admin to kill every Jew in America will make the woke right and their communist allies in the left happy. So this is what they're doing now. They're calling Tucker and Candace, people like Laura Loomer are calling Tucker and Candace the woke right, and they're saying they align with communist allies, which I guess would be the left. They can't call it the woke left because that's already the woke left's already taken, and you guys know this. They're already taken by the Hollywood crowd. They're more about LGBT and Black Lives Matter. They don't actually get in the street for Palestine. So they have a hard time of thinking of a name for us, but they just call us communist allies, which is interesting because you can throw communist at anything that's anti-military industrial complex, which would kind of be accurate because communist is actually not about the military industrial complex. But it's just interesting, just throwing words around. I love just the idea of throwing words around. Well, she got a lot of pushback for this. I just want to focus on one. There's so much pushback. I can't say she officially got ratioed on this because she's got way too many people liking her crap, but she certainly got a lot of pushback. I just wanted to highlight one because this is friend of the show, Mindy Robinson, who, you guys know, she was a MAGA. She was out at January 6th. She was a speaker before shit went south. And then she went libertarian, which I appreciate the libertarian mindset. And spoke up against Trump for what he's doing and spoke up against genocide. So Mindy says DHS just alerted its own provision that's not fake news. And how in the flying fuck does me not wanting to give Israel our hard-earned tax money when Americans need it here translate into wanting to see Jews gunned down in the street? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. And I'll only correct you with this, Mindy. The mighty, not so much, but I know you're using that expression in some sort of it's sarcasm, but I will say that that's not very mighty of Laurel. I don't think she's ever been mighty. The last thing of note is Laura Loomer is certainly in the pockets of Israel. More than that, the Palantir element, and we're going to get into that story in a little bit. But the Palantir element is another very suspicious part of the story. And just to remind you, if you guys didn't know this, Laura Loomer was pushing Palantir to be implemented right here in LA back during the ICE raids and the protests during the No Kings. We covered that in real time here. But just a reminder, Laura Loomer put this out during the ICE raids here in LA. Time to deploy Palantir tech to LA to deal with the illegals. You know you'd love to see it. You're lying if you say you want it. And this, my friends, is an example of how somebody like Laura Loomer has absolutely zero credibility and zero principle. Because if you had principle, even if you hate a particular people, even if you hate illegals, you hate people in LA, particularly lefty commies, as you call them in your other tweets, even if you hate them with disgust, the fact that you want to deploy a private company that keeps a super mega computer database and violates our privacy and puts everything puts us in a digital currency system and initiates and implements pre-crime strategies against not just our enemies, but the American people themselves. If you're for that, then you are not to be trusted, because there should be a line in the sand, even for the most hateful people and you want to see harm done to. You should have a line in the sand at the minimum of saying, yes, let's implement a technology that's going to be used against all of us. You should have enough sense to at least put the line in the sand on that. But no, Palantir for illegals, Laura Loomer is Palantir for everyone. And you should know that. And that's why she is insincere, and she should not be trusted. I'll take Tucker Carlson over Laura Loomer any day. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, And they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food, no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart would cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.